Hello, my name is Jenna Rundberg, and I am going to be telling you about the station rotation model I will be implementing in my first grade classroom next year. I have done a variation of this model in my classroom in the past, but have made some significant changes to make it more hands-on, effective for student growth, and added different technology tools that I will believe will grow students in the content area of math. So let's talk about what is HITS. This is a station rotation model I will be using during math. Each letter stands for something different, and the student chooses the activity or completes assignments that aligns with the standards that is being covered. This acronym stands for hands-on, instruction, time, and synergize. These are 4 rotations that students will have the opportunity to rotate through to work on or complete activities with manipulatives, small group differentiated instruction time with me, iPad time, independently working through the LMS Canvas website, which I will discuss later in this presentation, and lastly, cooperative learning groups. The best thing about HITS is that you can tweak it or work it to fit your classroom needs. We're going to discuss about what the rotation model will look like. This is an example of the schedule I will have posted on the board. It will keep track of where the students have been and where they will be going next. This screen will be projected on the board through the HITS time. The format is exactly like our daily 5 rotation time. I wanted to keep it similar so that the students felt they weren't learning a new procedure, and the expectations during this time is very much the same as our daily 5 time. This is a PowerPoint presentation. It's set on a timer so that I can focus on my small group instruction time, as well as keeping me on track in my group rotation time. So each rotation is about 15 minutes, allowing the students to do 2 rotations a day. Towards the end of the year, I would like for my students to be able to choose which activities they would like to do and when. But being that it's a first grade classroom, I will decide when that time is right for them to be able to make that transition for them to choose. So if and when that happens, I will still have the same screen, but will give the students magnets with their names on them, and they will just simply place the magnet under the appropriate box where they're going. So if you notice the little asterisk on the student's name under the time box, we will discuss that on the next slide in just a moment. So this is a layout of my classroom here, and you can just see where each student will be placed during their rotation time. So I'm going to walk you through what a typical student would do at each station. I'm going to save the T time for last so that I can spend a little bit more time showing you around the LMS Canvas website. So the first one is H for hands-on learning. Students will complete their math sprints at this rotation. In our Eureka Math curriculum, they suggest having students complete math sprints each day. These sprints consist of about 20 to 30 math facts. This activity works on students' math fluency. So students have 90 seconds to complete as many math problems as possible. This activity is never taken for a grade, but is always used for student self-assessment and student reflection. So when the students are done with their sprint, they will grade it independently, and then they will write 2 statements on the back of the paper. The first statement they will finish as I am proud because, and the second one is I will work on blank. So I mentioned previously that there was a little asterisk next to the student's name at this station rotation slide. This symbol means that that student is in charge of starting and stopping the timer for the whole group. So after students have reflected on their math sprint, they will work on additional math. They will work on addition and subtraction math facts. There are a number of different fluency games at this center, like roll and write, follow the rule, sum search, addition and subtraction cards, And students could also be using clocks to show times, base 10 blocks to show numbers, or tens frames for finding the sum and the difference. So all of these activities at this station are completed independently. The next rotation is I for instruction. This rotation is when students are in small group with me at the back table. I will be providing extension or enrichment for additional Tier 1 instruction on concepts that are taught earlier in the week. We may be using clocks, coins, hundreds charts, tens frames, whiteboards, or base 10 blocks, depending on the concept that is being covered. The overall goal in this rotation is to get students to discuss the process of problem solving, how and why they got an answer, and view or listen to their peers' way of thinking. I may pull specific topics out of our district map testing to review with students if there are multiple students that need to be retaught a concept. The next rotation is, S for synergize. At our school, we practice the 7 habits of healthy kids. Habit 6 is synergize. It is the habit of creative cooperation. It is teamwork, open-mindedness, and the adventure of finding new solutions to old problems. So at this rotation, students are working together to solve problems and discuss the different ways they would problem solve. There are multiple scenarios of how this would work in my classroom. Students could be engaged in math board games that are provided by our school district, or math games I have found on Pinterest or Teachers Pay Teachers that align and support the standard concept that we are focusing on. There are many different options on iPads that students could work together on playing. For example, SumDog, Freckle, Splash Math, or Puffin Academy. This option will only depend on how many iPads I have available in the classroom. So our last one I'm going to go back to is T for time. This rotation is where students will log into our LMS Canvas to complete independent various assignments on their own pace. I'm going to switch over to the actual Canvas website to show you how this would look from the student's perspective. Okay, so this is the Canvas website, what the students would log in to during the time rotation. So we're in mission 1 right now, and as you can see, there's 6 different missions throughout our Eureka Math. So I would probably continue adding, there's like 37 lessons in mission 1. So this is just a snippet of what it will look like. I would probably continue to add information in here. I have 1 on all of these things, and then I'd probably, in a couple of weeks, like maybe a week or so, add another set to cover the next concepts that we are learning, just because these missions are so large. But I don't want to put it in here all at once. Because the students, I think first graders, it would be too hard for them to, track where they're at. So in mission 1, they're working on add and subtract with small numbers. So if they're feeling like they need to review, they could come to this review page, and there are some fun just math facts songs that they could do. We have meeting the math facts, and we have subtraction with the pirates, addition and subtraction strategies they could watch. So there's some videos here if they are wanting to simply review what concepts we're learning. So when they get done, if they are done reviewing, then they would go to the math journal. So at their desk, they have a math journal. And what they would do is they would take their journal and they would split it into 4 squares. So I've kind of restated what they would do, and this procedure would be taught before and modeled many times before I'd let them do this independently. So they would get their math journal out, they would divide their paper into 4 parts, And then at the top corner of each square, they would write the short date that they were completing a math problem. So if they wanted to do all 4 of these problems in 1 day or 2 days, then they could do that. If they want to do one each day for 4 days, they could do that also. It's kind of up to them. So there's just simply 4 problems here that they would complete in their journals. And then when they're done with that, they would turn that in and I would grade those. So then after they have done their journal, they could do practice problems. So here is just some websites that they can go to for addition practice and subtraction practice. So we'll just click on one of these here. And this just happens to be Math Playground. And they can play these Math Monster addition games. So they would just work on math fluency. So that's an example. All right, so there's addition and there's subtraction. So that's for module 1, mission 1. And then, I'd continue to add more things in here as we progress through mission 1. Like I said, it's 7 lessons long. So I wouldn't add 37 reviews and math journals and practices, but maybe every 5 or 6 lessons, I would add some more journals or some practice for them. So that's an example of what it would look like in mission 1. And then once we move to mission 2, I would let the students know, they would know that we have finished mission 1 and we are now into mission 2. So this is what it looks like for under mission 2. And you can see that I've added a quiz here. So each mission will look a little bit different with different resources, just depending on what kind of concept we're covering. So here is an example, some examples of, and in mission 2, we're learning about place values. So if they feel like they're needing some review, they can come here, and I've got a place value vocabulary chart. I have a fun little song that they can listen to. Let's skip ahead. Okay, so that's an example of some of the songs, and then there's more. There's also the making 10 strategy for addition. This is a hard concept for first graders, so if they need to review that, that's also covered in this topic. So if they're feeling like they needed some review, they can go there. And then, of course, they have another set of journals to complete, the 4, just like before. And they have practice problems, or not problems, but they have practice websites that they can go to. And then they would complete the quiz on mission 2. So here's just some examples of what the questions would look like. So this is what time for our hits would look like for the students. And this is what the rotation model hits would look like in my first grade classroom.